Hi, it's Peggy at Headshots by Peggy, and today we have Kevin E. West with us.
What's up?
Again, he finally came back. It's been a while.
Finally.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is ask.
Oh, all right, well.
Brother will show up. If I do anything, it's because I show up. I show up.
And showing up half the time is 99% of this industry is just show up.
It's a part of the battle, yeah. It helps to show up with skills, but...
That's true. That's a very distinct...
Along with being on time.
And you're very punctual, which I like.
Always.
Because every time we either do anything socially or, for the vlog, you're always like, you're right
Punctuality
there.
matters.
Punctuality matters.
Traffic, not an excuse.
It's not, because we all know it happens.
And we have GPS now that 3 hours ahead of time can tell you how long it's going to take. Back in the day, you just poke and hope. You had a Thomas guide and it was like, good luck.
Good luck.
So now, no excuse.
No excuse.
No.
No excuse. All right, so you had a busy weekend. Let's talk about your weekend.
I did. Well, this past weekend was the summer intensive at the Los Angeles Conservatory. So.
And that's SAG-AFTRA Conservatory.
Yes, it's an element of being a union member. It is an additional cost. I believe it's $45 a year. But as I like to say, the conservatory today, predominantly because of a handful of people like Kevin McCorkle and Sean Sharma and Lee Garlington and Jane Austen, the conservatory today for $45 a year is an absurdly awesome deal. Conservatory when I moved here was...
You can't even take one class for $45.
No, I mean the conservatory in the late 80s when I moved to LA, were 2 cans, some strings, and a popsicle stick. What it is today is and what it's also continuing to grow and become is invaluable. Now, where there are conservatories around the country, it's different how each local runs those conservatories. But if you are in LA, and you aren't a member in good standing, and you're not a member of the LA Conservatory, join. It's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did a topic, which you would love. I could do this on that, but we don't have time for that today, on mastering the agent-manager relationship, which is hugely important.
Yeah.
And sorely, again, most of this business where there isn't any real instruction or any real training for, despite all of the belief that there's a ton of really good information out there, there's a ton of really bad information out there. But you don't have to love your representative, but you do have to have a professional relationship with them.
Yeah.
And how that gets built from the very beginning, from the first meeting, just like a first date.
Yeah. Hey, how are
is
you?
Really important. Yeah.
How about I turn that to
That was
silent?
awesome, though.
Yeah, it's because I got this thing with,
Do you have an issue with crickets or something?
No, Ozarks. Don't you watch Ozarks?
Oh, Ozark, yeah. Okay. Well, I haven't thrown anybody out of a building recently, so.
Okay.
But it's a good show. It's a good show. So no, I mean, I was speaking at the summer intensive, which they do once a year, massive weekend, 12 hours a day for 2 days. That was fun. And now preparing, because I think I'm a part of this independent, nonpartisan group called Union Working, unionworking.com, and we are putting on, for the first time in union history, we are putting on a presidential candidate town hall with the 3 main candidates. There are some other people running, but we don't have enough time to do this. This is not a Democratic debate with 27 people on the stage. This 3 people on August 15th. So. Please, by all means, if you're a member in good standing, go to unionworking.com and RSVP to come to the town hall with Gabrielle Carteris, Jane Austen, and Matthew Modine. It's going to be cool.
Perfect.
It's not a debate; it's a town hall.
A town hall.
Yeah,
so
but that's
there's
awesome.
some questions, and people can talk and get to know where everybody's vision is, and
they all have a set thing that they have to answer to, and then we open the floor for each individual one at a time. But it will be a very informative evening.
And where is that going to be held at?
Be held at the Faith Presbyterian Church, which is at 5000 Colfax Avenue, Valley Village, 91601. Don't hold me to that zip code because that could be wrong.
I'll put it right.
But if you just put 5000 Colfax, you'll find it's a big church on the right. But you have to RSVP.
Okay, so go to the website, RSVP.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's really cool.
So if you're a SAG member, you need to be there because this.
Yeah, and the thing is, the ballots go out next Monday, and the event's not till the 15th. But you have until the end of August to send your ballot in. So, take a couple of weeks, do some research, come to the town hall. You don't have to rush to send your ballot in. And I'm running for national delegate, so vote for me, because you should, because I show up.
He does show up, and he shows up on time.
Ish. So that's a lot of what's been going on. From a business standpoint, Peggy, you saw the news. I don't know how many people watching this saw the news, but you saw two things happen this week that are kind of a big deal.
Right.
One is we have privately, as a union, been on strike against BBH, which is an ad agency that represents several large companies. Right. Since before the commercial negotiations even occurred, in which our new commercial contract officially got ratified on April 30th, I'm pretty sure, but it just went into effect as of June 1, whereas if you were producing something, you would be able to go use our new contract, which has some forward-thinking evolution to it. Most of them are not perfect to me, and this one's not perfect either. It doesn't solve all the problems that, or monetary issues. However, I do believe that we're going to hopefully begin to see some of our union work come back. That has gone away over the last 10 to 15 years. And one of the first elements of that is that BBH lost their argument with us. And now they are officially back as a quote unquote signatory. So welcome back, BBH, whatever. But hopefully, as a general statement, more and more of that will occur.
Right.
Sure.
That's really good. That's good. So there's some other stuff going on besides that. It's kind of exciting.
Oh, the Netflix announcement, since you brought up Ozark.
Well, my phone kind of helped us out on that. That wasn't...
It was an interesting ringtone, though. I liked it. Yeah, the Netflix agreement is huge. It's a little convoluted. I mean, I know that I come here to discuss business because I'm the biz of showbiz guy.
Right.
I don't want to confuse anybody, but this is also for people who aren't union. This is to begin to understand some of how this multi-billion-dollar business functions. We have as any union does, a group that you negotiate against or across the table from, and that is the AMPTP, which is the Association of Motion Picture Television Producers. You can do union work just like you can in commercials without being signatory to the JPC and Commercials Joint Policy Committee or the AMPTP theatrically. If you're going to use union people, you have to use what our existing contract is. But you don't have to be a member of, it's almost like being a member of a club. You don't have to be a member of the AMPTP. Apple's not. Netflix isn't. What Netflix did, I think, terribly smart. Considering how much of the marketplace they have in what we call SVOD, streaming video on demand, they did a very smart thing. They sat down with SAG-AFTRA privately. Our contract doesn't end, or as we call it, sunset, until June 30th of, I think it's June 30th next year. Maybe it's May 30th, but it's one of those 2 months. Long time from now,
right.
11 months. We just inked a deal with Netflix that covers a whole bunch of stuff that will be a huge part of our AMPTP negotiation. And so if you look at it like this, Peggy, you already made a deal with me that sort of sets a bar
right.
about a whole bunch of things way ahead of when this other group has to come in and go,
yeah.
Well, they already got all that from them, so now what are we going to do?
Right.
So, and one of the keys to that is if by chance, which I hope we do, we manage to make a better deal with the AMPTP, Netflix has agreed to step up to that, which is pretty sexy. So, because again, I'm not going to tell you that the deal we made with Netflix is everything that I would want. It's not everything that a lot of people would want. You sit in these these rooms, whether it's the W&Ws and you discuss ideas about the contract and what we get paid because we're just being abused to death for the last 15 years. They basically have managed to find a way to write out my entire profession. I mean, writers can write around a top of show guest star, which is what most all my resume is. So, it's not the be all end all of broke the glass ceiling with the deal, but it's a solid contract, and it does set a precedent. It sets a precedent for what the AMPTP has to face sitting across from us. So it's one of the biggest things was them agreeing to do all of the dubbing and voiceover in the United States, because Netflix has a lot of production, a lot of original content being made outside the U.S. Yeah, and so that was. There's a couple elements of it that are a pretty big deal. Just go to Variety or go to online and just Netflix SAG-AFTRA deal and just read it. Just read it. And say, if you're a union member, SAG-AFTRA put out an email about it. So you can read what the points of it are. But, it's not the be-all, end-all. But it's a pretty decent preface to the negotiation we're going to eventually have in March. April.
Which it's way past time to do this, because the streaming stuff and the way that actors are being paid, or I should say the ways actors are not being paid.
Correct.
It's kind of gotten to a point where it's ridiculous when
it's just the lack of money.
Yeah.
It's they have all these numbers and they have all their supposed data, but at the end of the day, it's with some of the elements of our contract, exclusivity and a few other things, you can basically technically almost be a series regular on a show, and that may take 2.5 years or 3 years to shoot 2 seasons of. And if you break out how you're paid over the course of time, especially if you're relocated to some place like Atlanta, where I have to move to shoot the show, and what I'm paid to be there, technically you wind up really not making very much money, and yet you're supposedly in the top 2% of this profession, and the number is kind of absurd. So we're getting there. We're still way behind, but hopefully. And listen, what Netflix did was smart. Yeah,
it was smart for them, but it also
they cornered the market. Yeah, in a way.
Well, and
in a way,
they're not. They see the writing on the wall with all the other stuff that's going on with Disney and all the other shows that are everybody's streaming now. So
they at least set the bar.
That's good. So at least there's a bar.
There's a bar that is better than what we had in a lot of different elements and a lot of different ways, and also it's a bar from which other people can work, because again, your contract, whether you're signatory to AMPTP or not, is if you wanted to, and we've also done some other stuff with regards to all of the modified feature agreements. And it gets into a bigger picture, Peggy. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, and now I want to. We've reached a place, partly in this country, in my opinion, because of digital technology, that every single person believes they have a right, because they have a phone, that they should be able to make a movie. Well, yeah, you may have the right to make a movie. It doesn't mean you have a right to make a movie with union talent for free.
Right.
And that is an absurdity that has existed now for 10 or 15 years, that we've slowly sort of figured out this whole digital platform crossover, and I'm not one of those people who agrees with that. There are things when you put on shows when we're kids, you put them on in your backyard. You don't put them on at a theater and charge people money. There's lots of things that are vocational and amateurish and are, for the person doing them, a learning tool. You don't necessarily get the right for free to use me to do that, and other people who are credited professionals. And so that's a lot of what's wrong with our modified agreements, is everybody wants to be able to do everything for free. It's not how it works.
That's in my industry too. Everybody thinks that if they own a camera, they magically have this eye.
Absolutely.
Oh, I've got a great eye. I'm like, I've got 2 great eyes. It doesn't do anything to compare with, experience, education, and knowing, things. Right. And, I got that so much over the last 10, 15 years. Oh, well, my friend will do it for $100.
Of course they will.
Well, have your friend do it then.
You know what I call that? I call that the price of free.
exactly. Because then all of a sudden you have crap that doesn't get you work. And, well, we won't go there.
Yeah.
We're actually
but it's
not
true,
talking
but it's
about
accurate.
headshots
But
today.
it's accurate.
Yeah.
You know, my thing as anyone who becomes proficient at something is, okay,
Yeah.
do a couple of projects that are non-union. Use your non-union friends.
Yeah.
Go cut your teeth, learn, make mistakes, screw it up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But the other side of what I'm saying is almost that everyone has decided that the first time I try something, I have to win a gold medal. No, you don't. And there's a really good chance you won't. And you don't get to abuse my time or somebody else's time in the
Right.
process of that learning curve.
Right.
Again, I used to say this all the time. It's in my book. I say this when I speak. When you go to college today and you spend 4 years and get a bachelor's degree, when you get out of school, what does that piece of paper guarantee you? Answer?
A student loan debt.
Correct. A student loan debt, unless someone paid it off for you. But it doesn't guarantee you something in terms of money coming back. That's 4 years of your life you spent. But we have people who decide, well, I have a camera, I have a friend, I have two guys, and as I always say, you know, a dude in the backyard with some balloons and a goat and a guy named Billy. That's fine. Go make
Right.
that project. But that project doesn't necessarily mean that you should be able to use union talent for nothing.
Right.
And so that's a large part of those modified agreements we have that's now called SPA, short project agreement, ultra low budget, modified low budget, and low budget, which goes up to $2.5 million. That's part of where we're also at as a union is going, if you want us to stop the race to the bottom in commercials, then we also have to stop the race to the bottom in doing theatrical projects, whether it's a web series, whatever it may be. It's like, look, man, go cut your teeth, learn your skills, and raise some money. Whether it's family money, whatever it may be, it's like,
Right.
go raise some money to do a project that you then have at your disposal in our world today to potentially make money coming back, if it's good enough. So there's a lot of that that's kind of coupled into this, where the bar is with the Netflix agreement, because that doesn't trickle down, but it equates over to some of what we see in our feature film, new media, web series agreements. There's an element of it that's part of that.
That's part of that.
For sure, yeah.
You mentioned your book. Let's talk about your book.
Oh, yes.
So
I'll let you hold
every
it. You're way
actor,
better at this than me.
I'm better at holding books.
Well,
Everybody should be good at something. And clearly, this is my talent.
one of your skills. It's one of your skills.
But this book, every actor should read. I'm not kidding. Every actor should read this. And this has some amazing, amazing stuff in it.
Well, I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, you're old like me.
Ish, yeah. I'm older than you, love, for sure. 7 Deadly Sins the Actor Overcomes. It's on Amazon.
So yeah, get it on Amazon. I'll have links below. Anything you want to say about this? Like,
I mean, yeah, I could, you know, there's 70 chapters, for lack of a better phrase, 7 subjects in here.
yeah,
But this one, the one called The Decision, which I speak every second Wednesday at AFI, which is part of being a part of the
Right.
conservatory. And that would actually be a TED Talk that I would do one day.
Yeah.
Because I can make it 20 minutes long or I can make it 2 hours. The decision is something that is a discussion about your personal choice. It's related to the business because we make choices to be performers because of being performers. But it doesn't have a lot to do necessarily with the mentality and the psychology of being a human for sale, which is intrinsic if you choose to get a headshot
right,
and choose to go put yourself into the marketplace.
right,
I don't care that it's intrinsic. I talk about you sitting down with yourself and making a decision to become a human product for sale,
yeah.
which is not the same as being a performer.
No, it's not, and that's something, you know, Merrick and I talk about that very thing quite a bit because, you know, both of us are basically self-employed. I mean, we both, you know, have flexible schedules. However, when somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I need headshots. Can I come in Wednesday at noon?" I can say, "No, I'm busy. Come in Thursday at 2." And they say, "Okay." Now, somebody calls Merrick and says, "Hey, we booked you and we're shooting Wednesday at noon." He can't say, "Oh man, that's really not convenient for me."
That's correct. That's correct. Because you're an employee.
And
at that point, you're not self-employed. You become an employee.
And so it's kind of like it's a real weird. When you think about the life of an actor, it's a really weird dynamic.
Right.
It really is.
And also, you can go, yeah, we hired a black guy. We just hired one that's 6'4". Merrick isn't 6'4".
So
I'm pretty sure.
No.
I've met him a couple times. It doesn't mean he wasn't good.
Right.
It doesn't mean they wouldn't have hired him. It doesn't mean he doesn't physically fit what they want at this time. Kind of like your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or perhaps ex-wife or ex-husband. It doesn't mean that they're not great for somebody else. Y'all just not good for each other anymore. Well, casting is pretty much like that on an every 5 minutes basis.
Yeah.
And
we liked you, we pinned you, and then we changed our mind.
yeah, and that's a decision, and that's a business decision. Yeah. And the reason I call that the decision is for that reason, because you have to make a decision that you want to step into that. You can be an actor anywhere in the world. You don't have to be in Los Angeles. If you're choosing to be, you made that decision. I'm recommending you read the decision, because there's another decision I think you should make that's related to how this is going to affect you in here.
Yeah.
I get, Peggy, I get offended and get my feelings hurt all the time. I'm a Pisces. People are upsetting to me on a pretty much daily basis. Hollywood doesn't upset me. And I say it in my book because Hollywood makes a promise about what Hollywood is.
And they stick to it.
That's exactly what Hollywood is. It is the business of selling art, and we are the mechanisms by which they sell it. Mm-hmm. And if you think that that's math and science, you're on crack. It's not. Which means when it's not math and science, somebody reminds me of someone who made fun of me in high school, so I don't want to hire them. That's life. No, you were really great, but we decided to go Asian female. I'm sorry, let me get this right. You were considering me and then you went Asian female. That's like going to the Humane Society and thinking you're going to get a Chihuahua and you walk out with an Akita. They're not the same. But that's casting.
Right, exactly.
That's business. There's all sorts of stars on star levels where one person was willing to do it, another person was willing to do it. They both had equal resumes or equal whatever, and people go with that person. That happens it doesn't just happen to us, it happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. But there's a psychology to accepting that doesn't necessarily come with 3 months of depression and maybe having an addiction or two. So that's why, with regards to my book, I mean, it's the second chapter for a reason, but it's also the second chapter for a reason. That decision is something we simply don't sit with ourselves and make clear enough. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're 18 coming to LA. I don't care if you're 52 and you just sold your business for $10 million and you always wanted to do this. I don't give a crap. That decision to me is hugely important.
Yeah, it
hugely.
Is. Talking about just being 18 and coming to Hollywood, Merrick and I went to watch a podcast. Somebody that we follow on Instagram was on someone's podcast, and they were doing a live thing. And we were sitting there, and they had everyone introduce themselves. And I know this sounds really silly, but we forgot how many people just moved to LA every day to be an actor. There were so many people in there. They were like, yeah, we moved here 3 weeks ago. We're looking for a place to live and maybe a waiting job or something. And, it was like that over and over and over in this room. And we were like, we forgot, people still move to LA every single day on a hope and a dream. And
there's a chapter in here called Campus Orientation. Just like a lot of you got at the university you went to, and no one gives you in Los Angeles. And yet this city is a campus.
Yeah, you show up and you're like, I don't know what to do now, but I'm here. And
Peggy, most people equate the business of show business to what I call in here simply the setup. We equate the business to getting headshots. We equate the business to going to class. It's like, no. Just because you have a car and just because you put gas in it doesn't mean you've spent any time researching or deciding how you're going to get from point A to point B. It doesn't mean headshots aren't important. You can't drive a car without gas, so you can't be a professional actor without a headshot. But the belief that that's the pursuit of the business,
Exactly.
in my opinion, is completely inaccurate. That's just part of the setup of having the tools. I think the joke that I would always make was I don't know why I did this with regards to snow skiing, but it just always struck me because snow skiing, first of all, is kind of a niche sport. Second of all, it's not cheap. It's expensive. So there's always the one dude, always a dude, who's gone out and he hasn't rented. He's purchased $1,000 skis. And he's purchased $1,000 outfit. He's got the overall and the bib and the thing. It looks great. And he can't get off the damn chairlift. And then you got to stop the chairlift. And someone like me's on the chair behind him going, what the hell's going on? You know, it's like, that's, you know, you look great, but you can't ski.
Right.
You know, you have pictures and you went to class and all this sort of stuff, but you have no business research done, no specificity about where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. The pursuit
And
of
how,
your career.
what's the next step? Like, you have to have a plan.
Yeah, that's why, to me, that anytime I see a lot of stuff on the business or show business, usually about 80% of it, I just kind of equate to putting gas in the car. It doesn't actually have anything to do with the map and a direction you're going. So that's also why.
Exactly. And I'm not kidding. I really think everybody should read that
Thank
book.
you. I appreciate
really do. It was a good book. I'm not an actor. Merrick read it. I read it. We talk about it.
And it's not a hard read.
No, it's an easy read.
I worked really hard to make it.
Most people that watch this know that when I say I read something, it's Audible books, and I actually read that like this. So it's an easy read.
Yeah, well,
this
one much easier.
This is actually my level.
Yes.
This is actually my.
It's like
my
one
speed.
little short story, right, on a
Yes.
page, and that's it. You haven't got really more than just that there. It's just one. That's it. You're done.
I don't know why I
I
decided
like
to
it
go
though.
British on that, but okay.
I love this, so this is fun. So everything is like it. Well, it's called Life
Well,
in a Word.
it's a gift book. It has nothing to do with show
It has
business.
nothing to do with
Yeah.
showbiz, but it's a fun book, and you
Yeah.
have a new
Yes,
sequel
well,
book to this
Life in a
coming out.
Word is the whole point would be the tag. I'll let you read the
Okay.
tag. This right there.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, but a word can be a whole new picture.
Correct. So it's just a play on the definition of a word and a story from life. But yes, I have 10 of these if I ever actually sell them enough to have the publisher want to make more. But the first companion book is coming out on August 30th, Politics in a Word. That's weird because for the next 14 months,
It's all
the
we're gonna
political
be.
season.
Yeah,
yes.
we're gonna be.
So,
So
but
yeah,
it's-
those are fun gifts. It's a fun book. It's a fun read. It's
That's how I keep sane.
Yeah.
Is I write stuff like that.
and that's the thing. When you are an actor, you need to have a full life.
Yeah.
You have to go out and go skiing, and you have to go, I don't know, skydiving. You have to do stand-up comedy. Do something
And
that
have done
scares.
that.
Do something that scares the crap out of you at least once a month.
And I played baseball. I played hardball out here for 13
You're a
years.
serious baseball player.
I was, yes. I'm not anymore. 2 torn rotator cuffs. And age will stop you from playing with 22-year-olds. But yeah, you have to have. You don't just have to have a muse. You have to have something that keeps you fueled up
Yeah.
for the BS of having
Right.
made that decision and
Right.
dealing with this. Because as I said on Saturday at LA Conservatory, I've had 46 representatives. That's a lot. Now, I've been here a long time, granted. But I know people that have been here for 30 years that have had 3. You know, it's like the person who falls in love with the second person they date, and it actually works out. You know, it's not the case for a lot of people.
Right.
And so, yeah, you have to have, it can't be an escape and it can't be an excuse. That's what a lot of us use for whatever our muse or our hobbies or whatever are. It can't just be an escape or an excuse. It needs to be fuel for you. And me going to play, because the guys that played baseball, not softball, the guys that played hardball, I'd done the softball part when I first moved here. I did the entertainment leagues and the thing and the blah and all that stuff, but I had been a baseball player when I was a kid. So I got back into it because the baseball players were either former major leaguers or they'd played really high level collegiate ball. I played with a guy who had won College World Series. Older, but had played with him. That's what he did. And they went out to play, they did construction or whatever, but they typically weren't actors. And they played baseball in this organized national league called Men's Senior Baseball League or the National Adult Baseball Association. They played baseball because they loved baseball. And I needed a day or a half a day to go out and just be a competitive kid again. That was fuel for me. It wasn't an escape. You could call it an escape, but it wasn't an excuse to not pursue my career or an escape from my career. It was fuel for me as a human. And we have to have those. Now I do these things.
Right.
But it's
because it's easier on your shoulders.
Way easier on my rotator cuff, yeah. 2 of them, both of them torn, yes.
But that's true, and that's why I'm always telling people to do stuff and live a full life, because when you challenge you should always be growing. You should always be growing. You should always be learning stuff. Like, learn something. Like, I feel like, when I learn something, it's like, oh, that's really cool. I'll, and go out and do something, and just not because I want to escape from the reality of, the struggle of being a headshot photographer. But
yes.
But it's just because and sometimes I do things with the camera that I don't normally do. In other words, I challenge myself to go out.
I'm not gonna touch that one.
I go out and because I'm not the take pictures of flowers or bumblebees kind of person. I'm a person photographer. But there's a scavenger hunt on Facebook group, and they give you a word, and you take a picture of what that word means to you.
I like it.
And so it makes you kind of like go out in nature and find things and do things.
I like it.
And so I'm still using the tool, but I'm not doing headshots. I'm not doing people. I'm expanding my skills. Like, oh, what setting am I gonna have to use to get this way? And
see, that would
and
be
you're
my
growing.
book.
Yeah, exactly.
What if they gave you a word and you took a picture that really wasn't exactly what you were thinking, but it was like,
oh, I can
no,
see that in
that
there.
could fit.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
That's
my gift book
exactly
is.
what
It's
it
exactly
is.
what it is.
Exactly what it is.
You look at the word dance and you go, oh, it danced like, and then you read it, you go,
Oh.
I never thought of it that way before, but I see that. That's what you're doing.
That's exactly what it is. And
I
it
love
just
it.
makes you, it just makes your mind work once in a while. Because
it's Los
sometimes you get
Angeles.
on.
There's a zillion things to do.
Oh my God.
You can find a niche thing of a something or other of a fetish. Don't care. It doesn't matter. You can find a group basically who does almost anything in this city. And again, my careful thing is that it's not an excuse or an escape.
It's
something that makes you feel better when you're makes you feel better when you're done.
Fills you up, grows you up.
Because this business is hard. It's hard for me sometimes to believe how long I've been here, and yet many times it still feels like the first couple of years, because I made a promise to myself, and if we're getting close to the end, I'm happy to kind of get to the point of this being something that I would finish any conversation with to a bunch of actors, which is I witnessed. Within 3 months of moving here, I wound up at some seminar in some building, someplace over near Universal, and a guy stood up, because there were some people on stage, there were producers or whatever, and I knew him, and as soon as he stood up, like I recognized his face, like somebody would maybe recognize mine from one of the 50 shows, but I knew who he was. I was like, oh, he wasn't a star, but I was like, oh, I know who that guy is, and he was just angry as could be. Now, we've all got anger in us. My nickname used to be Mr. Intense, so I'm not going to debate that. But I remember standing there. I was 24 years old, 24. I remember looking at him. I remember thinking to myself, based on, he wasn't angry at the panel. He was just angry. And he was pissed off about what was starting to build, which at that time was the workshop industry. And he was angry at this concept that you would have to pay to meet somebody when they see people during the day for free. I don't argue that problem. But I promised myself when I watched him that no matter how long I chose to stay in this business or in this city, that I was going to work really hard to not become cynical about it, because Hollywood is exactly what it is.
They don't lie to you.
Hollywood will challenge you every week, every month, to not become a cynic about wanting to be a performer, because I am a goofball. And I am. One of the ways I think you resolve that is you make the decision, and you always make sure you have something besides a person. You have Merrick has you, but outside of that, something that helps keep you healthy. I just think it doesn't have to be 20 things, it's just 2. But it's not an excuse, it's not an escape, it's human fuel to face this BS every single week, and Hollywood is what it is.
It is what it is.
Not a lot you can do about it. You got to find a way to work through it all the time.
Exactly. What else do you want to talk about? Are we done?
Oh,
You got anything else you want? Any last words, sir?
I don't know. I don't know if I
Was
want.
that good?
I don't know if I want to, top that. That was
pretty good.
That was my thing.
That's pretty solid.
That's my jam right there.
Pretty solid.
It's like, Hollywood is what it is.
I'm really glad that you came and did this again, because I know that the viewers
Oh, I'm happy
got a
to.
lot out of this.
Love it.
So buy his book and read it.
And use it.
And use it.
It's a to-do book.
Read it with a pen in hand and a highlighter. It's one of those books.
It's philosophical, but it's also tactile. It is a to-do, not just motivational or educational. It's got to-do in it.
Yeah. And then the little gift book, give
Life
that
in
to
a word.
That's fun because,
This is for your mom.
well, yeah,
Your sister.
or
Brother.
how many birthday parties do we go to that you just need, and that's really something that somebody would actually
Literally
sit
for-
and thumb through.
For
and
anyone.
love that. Yeah, it's
18 to 80. It's for
yeah,
anybody.
Yeah, Samantha likes it. She's 14, so anybody.
There we go.
So yeah. All right. Well, social media
At the Kevin E.
at the Kevin E.
And if you're an actor, and you don't have to be a union member for this, the Actors Network, the organization that I founded, that I closed the physical doors 6 years ago. If you go onto Facebook, when you pull up the Actors Network, you'll see two. One's a page, one's a group. The closed group you have to get approved for, but request to join the closed group because that's a business group.
Request to join it and say that you watched him on Peggy's.
There you go. That'll work.
Be a shoe-in, right? You'll approve it. No.
I think it's an auto. I think it's
It's
just
an
auto.
auto thing.
If your name comes up, it's just
You think
auto
it's
approved. Just
auto-approved?
goes zips right in.
Come on, I was trying to make him feel special.
It's awesome.
Anyway, follow me on social media. If you haven't gone to my YouTube channel and subscribed, now's the perfect time to do that. And make sure you hit the little bell so that you get notifications. I upload new content every Thursday on Facebook. I upload old content, previous content from my vault.
How do you mean old? I'm sorry, never mind.
You
She
know,
said
stuff
old and
that-
pointed at me. I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Most importantly, have an amazing week. We'll see you next week. Before I get myself in any more trouble,
Oh,
let's
boy.
just go.
Eric's coming.
Thanks for coming on here.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.